What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. This morning, we are taking advantage of this COVID situation because there's no one on the pier. They have it closed down, and I've been wanting to take this shot with my drone for a while. Plus, we have the Insta360 giveaway results at the end of the show, so stick around for that. Welcome back to the show. Here we go. So the idea for this shot is really simple. I want to top down of the end of the pier. There is a Ruby's Diner at the end. It's got this great red roof on it. And what I want to do, because there's no people allowed on the pier right now, we can get that entire section from straight down with no people in it, which I think will make a really cool kind of abstract shot. The ocean, the pier, you'll know what it is, but it'll still be sort of, I don't know. I think the cool thing is that there's nobody on it. I've never seen the pier with nobody on it, and it's kind of awesome. The hardest thing I'm finding right now is actually getting it straight in the frame, just getting the drone just to turn just enough. So I'm actually a little higher than I want to be so that I can fix the little bit of levelness in post. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. The light's just starting to come on, so I'm getting a nice light on one side of the roof of the pier, which is cool, but the sunrise is just barely happening, which was on purpose, because we didn't want harsh light, we didn't want any shadows, just straight down, looking straight down at the pier. I think we might have gotten it. Not a complicated shot, as long as there's not mist or anything like that. The cool thing is there's this bloom going on, this algae bloom in the water. So we've got these red patches of moving algae in the water, and they light up at night. They're what do they call that? Phosphorescent? Bioluminescence, that's the word. And at night the waves break and things glow, and it's really magical, but not much to take pictures of, but it's cool to see. Anyway, we'll head back to the house. We'll throw this in the computer. We'll have a little fun in Photoshop and see how the shots turned out. So stick around, that's coming right up. All right, so we are back at the computer. I've offloaded all the files from the drone. I'm looking at them here in Adobe Bridge, and I'm just gonna go ahead and open the file that I liked the most in my preliminary look through of these, and we'll just work through this together. This isn't meant to be a tutorial of any kind. I just think sometimes it's fun to watch someone else work through their pictures. So if that's your thing, stick around. Otherwise, you can jump to the end and see who the winner of the Insta360 camera was. But let's just jump into the file here in Adobe Camera Raw. Now, those of you who know me know I'm a Camera Raw guy, not a Lightroom guy. All the tools are the same. This is just my preference. I've been doing this way for far too long. It's what I like. So anyway, here in Adobe Camera Raw, I'm just going to make a few adjustments to begin with. First of all, this is a little too warm. I want to cool this down, maybe even below 5,000, maybe 4950 looks nice. That's too much on the tint here, so I'm going to pull that back to right about there. And then I don't want to do too much here other than just my basic color corrections and things like that. And then we'll jump into Photoshop and make a few other adjustments. But I do want to go into my hue, saturation, and luminance adjustments, because there are some things here that I want to play with. And the first thing is that I want to accentuate this red roof quite a bit. So I'm going to push that red slider on the saturation up pretty far. Maybe we'll go around 35 and we'll start there. And then the other thing I know is that this water is both sort of a mix of aqua and green. So I'm going to play with those to try and get the right balance here. First thing I'm going to do is just start pushing that aqua, and I'm going to push this quite a bit because I really want that water to pop. Let's just go crazy and pull it up into about 70. So if I just do before and after, you can see we're already getting a better mix here. I'm going to push that green up as well. Yeah, right about there feels pretty good. I also want to go into the luminance slider and just pull that red roof down in the luminance some. Let's see what we've got here for luminance on some of these other things as well. Sometimes, especially in an image like this, with the water, it's hard to tell, is it blue, is it green, is it yellow with that algae? It's got a lot going on, so a lot of times I'll just crank these sliders in either direction just to see what they're doing. Obviously blue has a lot to do with it, but the blue looks like it's almost just luminance. The blue is really mostly affecting that walking path out to the pier more than anything else, so I'm going to leave that alone. I do want to just switch over to hue here for a minute, and I want to take that aqua and I want to actually push it a little bit more to the right here and kind of tweak that water a little bit, and the blues as well. I'm just going to push those to the right. I'm just trying to get colors that feel right to my eye. Obviously, coming in with a raw file, things are pretty flat and you've got some latitude for interpretation here. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Let's do a little bit of cleanup here. It looks like we've got some garbage in the water, so I just want to remove that. It's always best to take these things out in raw rather than having to make those destructively elsewhere or something like that. Zoom out. I think that was all I saw, but let's just got something over here. We'll take care of that too. Great. Then I'm just going to go ahead and open that object over in Photoshop, and from here on out we'll work on it from here. Now the first thing that I talked about was there's a lot of blue in that walkway in the cement, and I'd like to bring that back. I'd like to dial back the saturation of that blue so that that walkway really stands out and brightens up. But I can't do that in the raw file all by itself because it's going to change everything else. So what I want to do is actually duplicate this smart layer, this smart object rather. And by doing it this way and making a smart object via copy, you actually have a second version. If you just duplicate the layer, if you go back into Camera Raw and adjust that layer, it's going to adjust all of the smart objects that are identical to that are direct copies. So you have to make a duplicate via copy. I don't know, it's a complicated way of saying separate those two raw files from one another. So now I'm going to just double click on that thumbnail and I'm going to go back to Adobe Camera Raw, and we're just going to make one subtle change here. I just want to jump back over to the HSL, go into my saturation. I just want to pull the blues down until that walkway looks good to me, and I'm actually going to push the blue luminance just a little bit to brighten that up. Then I'm going to click OK. Now we're going to use a cool new feature. It's not that new, but it's newish. I'm going to select, and I'm just going to choose subject. Our subject is so obvious in this image that if I just do select subject and then add that selection as a layer mask, now all of a sudden, I'll turn this on and off, you'll see that that path just goes to a much brighter, more pleasing, sort of fixes the whole thing. Now the other thing I want to do is I can see that my crop is a little off here, and I probably should have done this in the camera actually, but we'll just do it here. So I'm just going to switch to the crop tool, clear out my presets here, and then let's just go ahead and drag this in until we're just a little off center, and that was bothering me. So that looks good. And obviously these are smart objects, so we can just, it's not destructive. We could undo that if we wanted and go backwards. Now the other thing I want to do in here is I want to add a little bit more contrast. So I'm pulling up a curves adjustment layer. I'm just going to pull and push these until I'm happy with the way that the contrast looks. Again, this could have been done in Camera Raw, but didn't need to be. I really like how that's looking. I would love for this bioluminescent algae to actually pop a little bit more, and I'd love to take the water down a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to create a new curves adjustment layer here. Actually, let's do a new hue saturation layer, and I'm going to use this little scrubby slider, but at first I want to zoom in here until I can really see the colors in my algae so that I can make a good selection in here. And it looks like it's going to call that cyan. So we'll see what this looks like as we start pushing it around. I'm just going to push the saturation a little bit, and that's affecting some of those areas a little more than I'd like. So I want to be really careful here. Don't want to touch that at all. So let's just turn that on and off and see. All right, that's a little brighter. And then let's just go up to the yellows while we're here and push those and see if anything happens. Nothing happens, so we know it's not yellow. All right, and then let's just go to our blues. And let's just push the saturation in the blues just a little bit. That's just for the water, so I'm actually going to just hold down Option and drag that layer mask. Yes, there we go. All right. All right, now another thing I want to do, that this is just a stylistic thing. I feel like that this water, I want a little bit softer. I want that pier to really stand out. So I'm just going to run a quick Orton effect on that. Now I could show you how to do this if you want a tutorial on Orton effect. I know there are a bunch on YouTube, so I don't feel like I need to do that. So I'm just going to use my Orton effect from Jimmy McIntyre's Raya Pro Pack, which I love. If you're not using his Pro panel, you should really look into that. I'll put a link in the description because that panel is super useful for things like luminosity masks, blending multiple exposures, that kind of stuff. It's just a time saver is all. So inside this, I am actually just going to increase my contrast. I'm going to pull the shadows, pull the brights till I'm happy with it. Click OK, and then I obviously don't want this applied to that pier or anything there, so I'm going to load that layer mask that I have previously by just holding Command and clicking on that layer mask thumbnail. And then I'm going to go to Select, Modify, and expand that selection by maybe 100 pixels. And I'm also going to Select, Modify, and feather that. We'll go about half that distance, and then I'm just going to add a layer mask there and invert it so that the pier is clear and nothing else is. I'm going to drop the opacity of that to maybe 20%. I don't want it to be too strong. Just before and after, before and after. It's just giving me a little bit of a glow out there. You may not be able to see that on video. I'm not sure how well this is translating to compression and tiny screens and all of that. But anyway, and then I think actually, I honestly want a little more contrast in here. I didn't think I did, but I'm going to just throw another curves layer on here. I'm going to do the same thing, just another. Yeah, that's starting to look really nice. Actually want the blacks to be just a little bit darker down there. And same thing, I do not want that applied. Yes, replace the layer mask. And I want to invert that because I only want it for the water. And I actually think I'm just going to grab a brush, shrink it down. I'm just going to hit this one time to show a little more contrast right there in the middle. So that's what my mask looks like. Let's do a little bit more in here maybe. This is being a little nitpicky, but I want that contrast that I just added to apply at least to the roof a little bit. So there's before the mask and after the mask. You're not going to see much, but I do. And that's what that's what matters, I guess. So let's just take a look at this and see what we think. I'm liking it. That feels really nice. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and stop editing. I will throw up the final image here on the screen. Let's frame it, make a little OCD situation out of it so that you can see what this looks like. Thank you for watching. I know that probably wasn't as much fun for you as it was for me. And now let's jump over to my recording from the other night when I selected, this is Tuesday night, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, when I picked the winner of the Insta360 giveaway. So let's jump in there and take a look at that, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, guys, the time has come to pick a winner. Let's jump over to pickawinner.co, appropriately named. And once that loads up, we're just going to go over here and paste in the YouTube link for our video and click fetch. Exclude replies, and this will tell me how many comments there were. And then I can click pick a winner. And there we go. Andy Capileo. Andy Capileo, you are the winner. Congratulations. I remember this comment. This was a great one. Thank you so much. All right, Andy Capileo. The Insta360 will be coming your way. I'll be reaching out through social media to get your information to send that off to you. Congratulations again. Thank you to everybody who entered, who commented, who left such great feedback. I really appreciate it. That was a whole lot of fun. I hope we can do more of these giveaways in the future. I love giving you guys stuff, and this was the first of hopefully many. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a little drone photography, something to do during this COVID thing while we can't really travel or go out and photograph in our favorite places, trying to stay safe, trying to stay home, trying to do the right thing, and all of that. I hope you are too. Anyway, this is the end of the episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the new subscribers. I look forward to doing some great stuff for you in the coming weeks. So until next time, I'll see you.